Back when guns were on their major development ramp in the late 1800s, we used to see all sorts of strange, weird and unusual opening mechanisms, loading mechanisms, stuff, patents. After the turn of the century, they chilled out a bit, until straight out of left field in the 1950s, an Irish gunmaker commissioned this. Starting at the back, we have a semi-ventilated orange pad. It's as unusual and as lacking in style as the gun itself. You have a very simple wooden stock. The lines of the stock are almost convex. It's a very strange sort of line of the stock. Comes from a very wide back butt plate up to a really thin grip up here. The checkering is hand done to a very unexciting standard. I should decide at some point, I presume this is the original pattern and maybe this has been redone, or maybe it just wasn't that great to start with. Inherently, all of the lines on this gun are a bit off. It is not what you would take home to show your mother as a sort of a classic case of beauty, but it is in itself fairly interesting to go fat to thin, back to fat with the action. The action is where it gets really interesting, to be fair. So the gun is called The Fenian by PV Kavanagh and Sons. PV Kavanagh appear in sort of the 40s, 50s and come up with the development of this, the vertical barreled gun. Before that, there is another Kavanagh of Dublin, and that is a William Kavanagh, and they were trading from about 1796 all the way up until 1928. So there is a Kavanagh name in gunmaking. However, this Kavanagh name has no obvious or serious links, and if anyone has any information on that, I'd be as welcome to it as anybody. The concept of this gun is a little bit weird. They came into the development of this, they made it for about 10 years, and interestingly, they never really perfected it apparently, because maybe the world didn't need this. So, you have a safety catch, pushing it forward engages the safety, pulling it down disengages the safety. I presume that perhaps, there you go, it just clicks up, 1 click, 2 click, and it blocks the triggers, and if you click it down there, you can go bang, bang on the triggers there. The sliding breech is the exciting part. When you press this top lever, it raises up directly around a pivot this locking bar. The locking bar goes straight into the breech block there. The action is actually assisted by the mainsprings to spring forward. So it's like an assisted opener, but not. But at least you're not having to open it all the way. It jumps up immediately. Upon opening, it slides forward. The little lifter kicks both of your shells out. The forend is fixed in position. The forend actually has quite a nice scalloped line. Look lovely on an air gun. The breech block is inherently one big piece with the barrels threaded into it. I think they are threaded, just the way they're seated at the back. I think they're screwed into place. I could be wrong on that, but it looks like that should be the case. This lifter comes up, ejects the cartridges. You put 2 new cartridges in, and as you slide it back, it recocks the mainsprings. Rinse and repeat. The patents were applied for, although no official patent actually came in for this. You can actually see bits on the bottom there. It's quite interesting, and you can sort of see throughout this gun the quality of workmanship. Clearly they all had to be sort of hand regulated. Whilst I remember, this is the only piece of embellishment on the entire gun. This tiny little scroll work. And another interesting point that's also worth mentioning before we speak any further about the cool patent on this gun, the actual interesting thing, is this is actually made in Birmingham. This was made in Birmingham for the Fenian Gun Company. The Fenian Gun Company appearing to close down in 1963 and secretly apparently being owned by British agents. Who knows? But apparently that's what the internet says, so it must be true. Anyway, this is the cool thing. Have a look at this. These are adjustable faces, if you like. Adjustable striker faces. So yeah, you can adjust your headspace by small amounts to, I presume, get the best out of each individual cartridge. If you are home loading a lot, that might be good. If you are buying different variances of ammo, it does allow you some very minor fringe benefit. It's cool. You have the extractor on the top here of the top barrel, and that will just keep that top one in place. And that bottom one, I believe, probably just falls in and gets lifted and pushed out with the other. I'd love to shoot this gun. This is lot 5105 in the Holts sealed bid sale of September 2021. And the reason we're doing a video on it is because I have never seen one and I'm unlikely to ever see one again. And I'm thinking the chances of you seeing one or ever seeing one again are fairly minimal too. The great irony with this gun is that at the time that somebody came up with this concept of the sliding breech gun, the Beretta SO and the Browning Superposed were already out there. Pretty much every mainstream over and under existed. And let's say this was in the mid-50s, Berettas were starting to exist in more of a guise that we recognise today. Like, there was amazing guns out there, and this is the best they could do. Or this is the best they could come up with. There's some nice things. There's no mid-rib. The barrels are joined together by one solid bridge at the front. The top rib is not soldered on. That's quite interesting. So you've got this little bridle that sits around the back of the breech face, a rear bead sight. I can't say much about rear bead sights other than, what were they thinking? I don't know. Perhaps the answer is that you can unscrew this front end here and you could reverse the bead or reverse the rib, or there was different ribs, or who knows what the concept was. Who knows what the concept was. But yeah, you've got a screw in the front that retains the rib and this little circlip thing at the back that retains the back end. It, to me, is a bit balmy. I can't get my head around it. Some of it's spectacularly made. The rib, the machining on the rib and the actual quality of some of the machine work is exceptional. And then you get the sort of quality of finish, the checkering on the fore end and the lines of the damn thing. Like, it is just relatively unattractive. I guess it's going to be a lot easier to make regulating headspace with those adjustable faces than it would be, it would take significantly less skill to build one of these than it would a break over superposed gun in Birmingham in the late 50s, or in the 1950s, at a guess. To actually black up and joint up and over and under, or any gun, takes some talent. To regulate a go no go gauge with an adjustable breech face, you're always going to get a good gas seal. Built to a price? Perhaps that's why this existed, to be built for a price. To me, I don't really get it. But for £300 to £500, you could get it and then let me play with it just the once. Although I feel like I've done the world a service by marking this one down before it goes into somebody's collection, which it will, because this is a rare beast and a very interesting thing for anybody who is genuinely interested in guns. You know, it's sort of standard gun of the era, extremely low in the comb. Look at that bulbous top, that's fine gun making. This is a wild and interesting piece of history. I don't get it. I don't think it's supposed to be got, but it is damn interesting. Guys, check out the Holts Seal Bid auction. It is filled with interesting stuff. This is one of the most interesting. Take care, goodbye, and we'll see you next time.